welcome inside our Mountaineer Game Day studios. Angelica Trinone and Nick Farrell here with you for a brand new show that we are trying out called Mountaineer Game Day Extra, the debut episode here for us where we're going to bring you our first reaction to Coach Brown's press conferences that happen on Tuesdays, also what we heard from the coordinators and players, and really just those little insights that we don't have time to get to in our daily WVI reports and that we don't have time for in the Neil Brown Show or our normal Mountaineer Game Day, which also returns this weekend. So it's finally game week here on the campus of WVU. I mean, we've had, I know on our website, we've been counting down for the past 100 days. Getting here to the football season, and it's finally here, thank goodness, just a few days away. We did have a chance to talk to the head coach, Neil Brown, on Tuesday. He said this team is ready to go. He's excited to see what they're made of. They're excited to get out there and see what they can do as well. And he said one thing with this inexperienced team, you never know how good they're going to be until you get out there and you let them play, and that's what's going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, well, WVU has never lost to an FCS opponent, right? 19-0 all-time in program history. But James Madison is not your typical FCS team, right? The Dukes are coming into this contest as the #2 team in the FCS, really have sights set on competing for a national championship. This could be a marquee win for the Dukes if they can come into Milan Puskar Stadium and come away with a victory. But WVU football, with its young roster and new coaching staff, well, the players also think they've got a lot to prove as well.
This first game is going to be really a setter or trendsetter for how this season is going to go, and yeah, there's going to be adversity, and Coach Brown's talked about that. No matter what, there's going to be adversity in any game really, and I think we're going to find out how close this team is, and if all that stuff during summer, that team building really worked.
We lost a few key guys last year, but with the work and the preparation we're putting in, there's not going to be no drop-off from this year to last year, because we're going to be prepared just as we was last year, and we got a lot of guys stepping up to as that key role to start and provide for this team and produce for this team.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole other team, especially with me. Everybody has something to prove. We as a team, we're ready to show that this Saturday.
So, Angelica, getting a chance to listen into some of the players from the media session earlier this week, if there's one big thing for me coming into West Virginia's regular season opener, it's seeing how things all mesh together, seeing how which young players can step up, which newcomers can make the loudest performances, which veteran players will prove to be the most steady. And there's, of course, one newcomer in particular in Austin Kendall that we're going to be keeping a pretty close eye on this weekend.
Everybody very anxious to see how Austin Kendall will perform. He had spoke to the media on Tuesday. He said the last time that he started was in Oklahoma's game up against Baylor. He said he didn't want to get into too many details because he was not out there for too long. Made a little joke about Kyler Murray having to go in there after, but he said the last time that he really played for a full season would have been back in high school. So he's also anxious to see what he can get out there and do. You will hear his complete thoughts on becoming West Virginia's starter and how he has grown into that position. Coming up this weekend, he will be our special guest on the Neil Brown Show, and you can tune in at 9 a.m. on Saturday. You can find it there on your local Nexstar station. It will also air on Friday night as well at 5 p.m. on AT&T Sportsnet. Now we want to welcome in a special guest here on our Mountaineer Game Day Extra program. That is TJ Eck from WHSV in Harrisonburg, Virginia. He covers JMU and has taken some time to speak with us here to preview West Virginia's season opener up against the Dukes. So TJ, let's just cut right to the chase. Similar situation for both of these programs, welcoming in a new coaching staff. What have you seen from Kurt Signetti and how he's developed and grown this JMU program since first arriving last December?
Yeah, he's a guy that's come in, he has a plan, he executes it, and he doesn't really stray too far from his plan. He uses 3 words that we hear quite a bit. Fast, physical, and relentless is what he likes to describe the way he wants JMU football to be. And so that's kind of his calling card, I guess. And one of the first things he said when he took over the job in his introductory press conference is that he wants JMU to lead the conference in rushing. And he's talked about that a lot, really being a physical team, running the ball a lot. So that's definitely his philosophy, offensively at least. And, yeah, he's definitely come in and changed some things around. Practices move really fast, some of the fastest practices I've ever seen covering football. They're not long practices. They work very quickly. He's brought in a staff that's pretty energetic too. If you're at practice, a lot of the assistants are very energetic guys. So yeah, it seems to be that he's brought in what he wants to do, and they're sticking to it. And he's going full speed ahead with what his plan is.
JMU coming off a 9-4 season, returning 20 starters, picked to finish second in the FCS. Does this team feel confident that it can pick up right where it left off in 2018?
Yeah, and honestly, they expect to be better than last year. And as crazy as this sounds, JMU went 9-4 last year, made it to the second round of the playoffs, had a pretty successful year. For most schools, this is considered a disappointment around here, what happened last year, because they really expected to compete for a national championship last year, and for the season to end in the second round of the playoffs. It was kind of a shock, to be honest with you, and a lot of fans, a lot of players, they remember that. They're not happy with how last season went, so, or at least the way it ended for sure. So they're definitely expecting big things this year. It's something that a lot of us local media here in Harrisonburg have talked about, that not to put too high expectations on this program, but we expect them as objective media outlets that they're going to play for a national championship this year. So this is a team that is loaded. They're not afraid to go anywhere and play. You saw that last year when they went down to North Carolina State, and they were really in that ball game until the final possession. And there's a lot of former FBS players on this roster, a lot of veteran players, a lot of guys who've played a lot of football in some big settings, played in national championships at the FCS level. They've played on the road at ACC schools. So, yeah, it's an FCS school by name, but when this team goes out on the field Saturday, I think a lot of fans will see that this is not your typical pushover FCS school. This is a team that is good enough to compete and good enough to win if everything goes right. Everything falls their way. They're good enough to win against really anyone in the country. Not the top teams, obviously, but they're good enough to win against a team like West Virginia, a team that's obviously going through transition itself. So it should be a good ball game on Saturday.
TJ, you had mentioned the defensive line being a strength for JMU this season. A lot of veterans there up front. How much stress can this defensive line put on opposing offenses this season?
Yeah, that's the key. And JMU last year was able to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks with just 4 guys and not having to blitz a ton. Now, there's a new defensive coordinator, new scheme. They may blitz more this year. We haven't really had a chance to see too much about what they want to do defensively. But if they can get pressure with their front 4 guys, especially with Rondell Carter and John Dacco on the ends, then inside, Adiba Tariwa and Mike Green are the guys who play inside. They've got a potential to really cause problem for opposing offenses because there's good linebackers. They have a lot of depth and good players in the secondary. So if they don't have to bring extra guys, it's going to be hard for teams to throw against JMU because they've got good coverage guys and good guys in the second level that can really play solid football if they can get pressure with those 4, and they should be able to. It's really loaded up front with JMU. And those guys, if you watch them and you're at practice, they're guys who could play at the FBS level. They're just happen to be at the FCS level for whatever reason or not. And so it's going to, I think, cause some real headaches for a lot of offensive lines this year.
All right, TJ, thanks so much. We look forward to seeing you this Saturday at Milan Puskar Stadium, West Virginia versus JMU. Kickoff set for 2 p.m. You can hear more from TJ with more insight on the Dukes coming up on Mountaineer Game Day. We've got a special edition on Friday night at 7 p.m. And then we will be live from Milan Puskar Stadium starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and we'll take you close up there to kick off, bringing you more insight on that season opener. TJ and I were also talking about the matchup within the matchup that he would be watching. He said it's going to be WVU's O-line versus experienced JMU defensive line. But one thing that we have heard really all fall camp is still that question mark remains, that 5th guy for WVU's offensive line.
Yeah, right. Let's recap things, Angelica, just really quickly. You know, West Virginia has a couple staples, returning guys in that offensive line. Colton McKivitz, an all Big 12 preseason honoree, and Josh Sills as well. But the big issue for WVU, if you want to call it an issue, is that Josh Sills has had to move to center. So that's left that opening at right guard. It's either going to be filled by Chase Barrett or John Hughes. that's still a position battle that's going to wage on into this final week of practice. Maybe we'll have a definitive starter selected by Saturday, but Coach Brown has said probably expect to see both guys splitting time. So 4 starters solidified on the O-line. That 5th guy going to be determined by Saturday. But while there's a question mark on the right side of the offensive line, the left side looks really solid. McKivitz at left tackle. And then a guy that you're going to hear a lot about this season is Mike Brown, the left guard, a native of Compton, California, weighs about 340. He's a monster of a man, but he's one of the nicest guys, Angelica, that we will ever come across covering Big 12 football. I mean, the kid is funny. He loves playing football. He loves to be here in Morgantown, and he's definitely a hoot anytime we've had a chance to interview him.
Yeah, he definitely has had some great memorable quotes already just here a few weeks through fall camp, and as we get ready into the season. You can, of course, hear more from him, some other WVU players, and the coordinators as well. We keep all of that content over at our website, WVIllustrated.com. We also keep it on our social media. It'll be on our Facebook pages and Twitter as well. So make sure you're joining us daily for all of your WVU and, frankly, all of your WVU sports coverage as well. So while we're talking about the web, we got a guy behind the web this year. That is Sam Caniglio. He's one of the newest members of our team here at West Virginia Illustrated. So now we want to bring him here into our Mountaineer Gameday Extra show because he's got some fan questions. We asked you, the viewer, what do you want Nick and I to maybe talk about this week? A couple things that you'd like to answer. So now we have Sam here with those questions.
How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Good.
Glad it's a game week.
Me too. I'm excited, and apparently so is Mountaineer Nation on social media. And we're going to get right into it. This one comes in from Sean Mead on Facebook. Sean wants to know, what can we expect from Michael Laughlin as West Virginia's Week 1 tight end?
Yeah, so a quick note about Michael Laughlin is that he is number 1 on the depth chart, surpassing Giovanni Haskins and TJ Banks. Haskins is going to be available for WVU, but O'Loughlin is listed as the starter. Really, for me, the coaching staff has said that he's a guy that has a lot of talent, but the biggest thing for him is that he's put on a lot of pounds, a lot of muscle. Is a bigger guy, ready to play tight end both as a pass catcher and a blocker. But I think, Angelica, the real question is how much will West Virginia utilize tight end this year?
I think for me, kind of the same thing. They said he's put on 40 pounds since arriving here. He's 6'5". Not exactly as much weight as Trayvon Wesco had at the position last year, but he's another big body dude. And Coach Brown had said he has really helped in terms of blocking. So we'll see what he can add there, but just really excited to see what he can bring size alone to this WVU team.
This one comes in from @VWVU Wonka on Twitter. Thank you for your question. Is WVU going to be the type of offense to have 2 1,000-yard rushers or 1 1,000-yard rusher and a couple 1,000-yard receivers?
So to me, that seems like a big ask because if you flip back the clock just to a year ago when West Virginia had one of the best offenses in the country, it didn't even accomplish either of those two, right? There wasn't a single 1,000-yard rusher. Kennedy McCoy posted, I want to say, around 800 yards rushing last year, but was over 1,000 total yards when you account for his receiving yards, about 250 last year to lead all of West Virginia's running backs. Truthfully, I don't see either of those happening, but I do think the thing that you're going to see the most of is West Virginia is going to incorporate running backs, maybe a whole lot more than last year, both out of the backfield and in the passing game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Coach Brown had said that right now the running backs are the strength of this team. They are the most athletic. So he said the game plan is to have as many of them on the field as they possibly can, whether that means in the backfield lining up at receiver. So Kennedy McCoy has been named the Week 1 starter. Of course, Martell Pettaway after there. But this is such a versatile group. They've got 4 guys. You add in Letty Brown and Alex Sinkfield that I think spreading the wealth is going to be very beneficial. So I'm going to agree with Nick. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, running back by committee makes it pretty tough. The next one coming in, Zachary DeBaradin on Facebook. He's asking, what can Sean Ryan, the transfer from Temple, the receiver, what can he bring to the table?
Okay, this is a guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing because the coaching staff has really invested a lot in Ryan. We haven't seen anything really from him. He joined the team over the summer, but for WVU, he could be integral this season. Remember that wide receiver is an area that Neil Brown said the Mountaineers needed to add some depth in the offseason. That's what they did with Ryan. He was recently granted his eligibility waiver, and that was something that Coach Brown said he was counting on. Ryan's been taking first-team reps throughout fall camp. He's listed number 1 at wide receiver on West Virginia's 2-deep that was released this week, so look for him to be a guy that's targeted a lot. How much talent does he have? We've heard he has a lot. We'll have to see how it's displayed, though, on Saturday.
Yeah, I think another thing that he really brings is size. That's one thing that we have heard about this receiving core. Coach Brown had said they are big guys there. Most of them, I think there's about 2 or 3 that are around 6'3". I believe that Sean Ryan is one of those guys as well. Talking to Austin Kendall, he said he thinks that his strength is Sean Ryan is really knowledgeable when it comes to running routes, and he said he has tremendous strong hands as well as able to hold the ball. I'm just anxious to see what he can add to a unit that doesn't have a lot of experience, but one of these positions where these guys are really going to have to grow up quick.
Don't sleep on TJ Simmons either. Back for his second year with WVU, moving to the slot. I think he's going to be integral too in the offense this year.
Top guy. All right, we're going to wrap it up right here in the social media minute, I guess. Be sure to send in your questions either on our Twitter at WV Illustrated or on our Facebook. Please use the hashtag. You'll see it up in the corner. Ask MGD Extra. We will try to do our best to answer them all.
Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Fun. Get involved.
Have to be so X's and O's, whatever. Have some fun. We'd love to hear what you want us to talk about.
Yeah,
Here on the show.
Angelica wants to talk about how her travel plans are going for the
I want to
regular
talk
season.
about Pumpkin is back at
my
Duncan,
gosh.
and I'm excited. That means football season is back. That's what I want to talk about.
It's still August. We're still
Exactly.
Let's enjoy
Exactly.
this. Let's enjoy this.
I'm enjoying the summer and also enjoying Pumpkin, and I'm also
Oh my
going
gosh.
to enjoy this last
What's the
question.
last question? Let's go.
Last question. Bring it into football season. WVU Wonka again making an appearance. Thank you for your questions. Will WVU's defense be surprisingly good this year?
I don't want to say the word surprisingly. I don't want to say that because I think, like you had heard a little bit earlier in the program, Darius Still's one of those guys saying that this unit too has something that they want to prove. I think up front, we've heard a lot of great things about Darius, about the addition of Taj Austin, that he's going to be one of the best pass rushers this year for WVU. Of course, Reese Donahue. A lot of inexperience when you get into the secondary, but I mean, you've got a guy like Keith Washington back there, Hakeem Bailey as well. I don't want to use the word surprisingly. I don't think that they'll necessarily be surprisingly good, but I think this is a unit that maybe has potential to surprise people with its talent.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to say.
I think that West Virginia, in order for the Mountaineers to be good, West Virginia's defense is going to have to be great this year. We were talking to Reese Donahue earlier this week, and he makes a great point that West Virginia has one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule in the Big 12, one of the toughest schedules in the nation, 11 Power 5 schools, and James Madison, the number 2 team in the FCS. I mean, the Mountaineers really aren't going to get a chance to rest at all unless it's an idle week. So in order for WVU to be good, the defense is going to have to be outstanding, and I think it starts with the defensive line.
Yeah, they said they had more freedom this year too. More freedom and more athletic ability. They're being able to use their athleticism more. So I think that WVU's defense will be something to look out for. Maybe something that will surprise a lot of people.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for the questions. We enjoy having you in.
Oh, me too. I enjoyed being on here.
Make sure you get more questions into Sam next week. Again, use the hashtag AskMGDExtra on Facebook and Twitter. Right now, though, we're going to check in with Dale Wolfley for his Howl of the Week. Wolfman?
Welcome to MGD Extra. Okay, I'm the Wolfman. We're coming from the Wolf's Den. All right, so let's check it out here. Every week, I want to highlight a student athlete, a Mountaineer, that I think is going to be special and have a great impact on the season. So let's go with the first one is what? Got to be Kennedy McCoy. How much has Coach Neil Brown talked about Kennedy and the outbreak year he thinks he's going to have? So what does Kennedy bring to the table? Well, I'll tell you what, this redshirt senior right here, he can run the ball. If you remember, if you were listening to us on IMG Radio last year, we were talking about how we thought that Kennedy really brought it in the second half of the season. Well, he's continuing what he did last year. And watch him run right here. Against Texas, he had 94 rushing yards and 55 receiving yards. Okay, roll it. Here it comes. You see him out here. He can move in space. He can break down. And he can run as hard as he can. I'll tell you what, guy can run. Let's go next play right here. There you go. Keep it going. There you go. Now you're going to see a jump cut right here, and it's really impressive. Watch him run. So he runs forward, and now he's going to take the draw. What does he do? He jump cuts. Hey, that's a Texas athlete. He misses him. That shows a lot of talent, a lot of versatility. But you want to see some real versatility? Here, you're going to see him come out of the backfield and make a catch. Really good ball skills. You're going to probably see Alex Sinkfield doing the same thing as well. Roll it. There you go. Keep it going. Again, he's running hard. There you go. Big game. He can run the ball. He can receive the ball. You can do it all, to be quite honest with you. And that, my friends, is your Wolves on MGD Extra. Boom!
All right, Wolfman, thanks. We're going to wrap it up. First ever show of MGD Extra. Thank you for joining us. You know, there's going to be a whole lot of coverage coming your way from the West Virginia Illustrated team. Here's where you should keep an eye. Here's what you should keep an eye on over the next few days as we take you right up to game day. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll bring you stories every single day. You can also find your daily WV Illustrated report on your local Xtra station in West Virginia. And maybe most importantly, download the WV Illustrated app. That's where you can find all of our content, web stories, photos, videos, and much, much more every day of the week.
And on TV, you can catch us on The Neil Brown Show, as well as Mountaineer Game Day, of course, like Nick said in our daily WV Illustrated reports. The Neil Brown Show is coming your way this weekend. It will first air at 5 p.m. on Friday night on AT&T Sportsnet, and then 9 a.m. on Saturday on your local Nexstar station. And we got some bonus content, again, coming up for you on Friday. That will be a special edition of Mountaineer Game Day. That one airs at 7 p.m. And then we will be back. Nick and I will be live from Milan Puskar Stadium. Scott and Amanda will be sitting right here at the desk for our first real Mountaineer Game Day show of the season, taking you right up to kickoff or just a few hours before West Virginia and JMU face off. We thank you for joining us here on MGD Extra. Make sure to send us your questions, and of course, make sure to tune in next week.